At first, it was just an annoying tremor in my finger. You know when you're nervous and your hand starts jumping around? It was like that, but without any apparent reason. At first, it happened every now and then, usually when I was more tired or stressed with work. I used to think, oh, it must be age catching up, or I need to drink more coffee. I tried to ignore it, shook my hand, distracted my mind with something else. It worked for a while, but then the tremor would come back, more insistent, almost as if it was taunting me. I started to notice that it was getting harder to button up my shirt in the morning, to pick up a glass of water without spilling it, even to type on the computer. My hands seemed to have a life of their own, disobeying my orders. I tried to convince myself it was just clumsiness, that I was getting old and awkward, but deep down, I knew something was wrong. The turning point was when I went to hug my grandson and accidentally squeezed him too hard. He cried, and I felt like the worst grandmother in the world. There, at that moment, I knew I needed to see a doctor. I could no longer ignore what was happening to my body. I'm Rachel. I'm 54 years old. I'm married. I have 2 wonderful children and a grandson who lights up my life. I worked all my life as a teacher, teaching children to read and write. I've always been an active person who enjoyed cooking, gardening, and walking my dog. I had a normal, happy life with no major worries. At least, that's what I thought. Suddenly, everything changed. Those little hand tremors intensified and led me to a diagnosis that turned my life upside down. Parkinson's. At first, I felt lost, afraid of the future and the progression of the disease. Today, I have decided to share my story with you. It's not easy for me to expose myself like this, but I feel it's important. I waited a long time to seek medical help. I ignored the signals from my body, thinking it was just fatigue or stress. I deeply regret that. If I had acted sooner, maybe my condition wouldn't be so advanced. That's why I want to warn you. Listen to your body. Don't ignore warning signs. Don't be afraid to see a doctor. Early diagnosis can make all the difference. If my experience can help at least one person seek help in time, it will have been worth it. I want to turn my pain into awareness and prevention. That's my mission now. In the beginning, I truly believed it was just stress. My life had always been a rush. I would wake up early to make breakfast for my children, take them to school, hurry to work, grade papers until late, come back home, prepare dinner, help with homework, an endless routine. When the tremor started, I thought, of course, with this life, who wouldn't shake a little? I justified it with tiredness, with nights of poor sleep, with the pressure of being a good teacher and a good mother. Joint pains also started to appear, but I attributed them to age. After all, being in your 50s is not the same as being in your 20s. I thought, I need to start doing more stretching. I'm getting rusty. I began taking painkillers to relieve the pain, the ones you buy over the counter at the pharmacy. Ibuprofen, paracetamol. They relieved it for a few hours, but then the pain came back stronger. I simply increased the dosage without worrying too much about the consequences. I remember a time when I was writing on the board and my hands simply froze. I felt a piercing pain and had to stop the class. The students were worried, but I made up a lame excuse, saying I had slept in a bad position. I got home and took a muscle relaxant, the kind my mother used for back pain. I felt a little better, but the next day the pain returned. Lack of time was my biggest excuse. There was always something more urgent to do. Papers to grade, school meetings, my grandson's birthday. My health was always put on the back burner. I would schedule medical appointments, but always ended up canceling due to some unexpected event. I thought, I'll go later. There's no time now. In addition to painkillers and muscle relaxants, I also started taking vitamins. I thought I was taking care of myself, replenishing lost energies. But deep down, I knew I was just masking the symptoms, postponing the inevitable. The tremors in my hands intensified, muscle rigidity increased, and the slowness in movements became more and more evident. But I refused to believe that something truly serious was happening. I preferred to live in the illusion that it was just a phase, that everything would pass. This negligence cost me dearly, as it delayed the diagnosis and the start of appropriate treatment. If I had sought medical help earlier, perhaps I could have avoided the worsening of the disease. The tremor began small, almost imperceptible, but it grew like a weed spreading through the garden. At first, it was only in the index finger of my right hand. But soon it took over the whole hand, and then moved on to the left. It seemed like my hands had a will of their own, trembling incessantly even when I tried to control them. The joint pains intensified, making every movement a torment. My shoulders, elbows, and wrists constantly ached, as if they were being crushed by an invisible weight. At work, the situation became unbearable. It was increasingly difficult to write on the board, handle books, and grade tests. The children noticed my struggle and began to look at me with pity. I avoided showing affection as much as possible, afraid of dropping a book or knocking over something. The sluggishness of my movements also hindered me greatly. It took an eternity to organize materials, respond to emails, and prepare lessons. I felt more and more incapable and frustrated. At home, things weren't much better. The difficulty of performing simple tasks like buttoning up a shirt, opening a bottle, or cutting food made me irritated and depressed. I needed my husband's help for everything, which made me feel like a burden on his life. Gradually, I distanced myself from the activities I enjoyed the most, such as cooking, gardening, and walking my dog. The pain and fatigue prevented me from making any effort. The nights became a nightmare. Muscle stiffness and involuntary spasms prevented me from sleeping. I spent hours tossing and turning in bed, trying to find a comfortable position, but it was futile. I woke up exhausted and without energy to face the day. The constant fatigue made me irritable and impatient. I ended up drifting away from my friends and family, afraid of being a burden to them. The fear of judgment was paralyzing. I didn't want people to see me as a helpless person, incapable of taking care of myself. I tried to hide my tremors and difficulties, disguising them with smiles and jokes, but inside, I was drowning in a sea of anguish and despair. Every day that passed, I felt like my body was betraying me, stealing my autonomy and my joy of living. I remember a day when I went to the supermarket and couldn't hold a shopping bag. The groceries fell to the ground and scattered all over the aisle. I felt a mix of shame and humiliation. People looked at me with pity. Some even offered to help. But I just wanted to disappear, to vanish. I ran to the car and cried uncontrollably. That day, I realized I couldn't continue living that way. I needed to seek help before the illness consumed me completely. That was my turning point, the moment I decided to fight for my life. The day I finally gathered the courage to see a doctor feels like a slow-motion movie in my mind. The appointment was scheduled with a neurologist, a specialist in brain and nervous system disorders. I sat in the waiting room, nervous and apprehensive. Every minute felt like an eternity. I observed the other people, each with their own story, their own pain. Some seemed calm, others anxious. I felt like an intruder, someone who didn't belong there. When they finally called my name, my heart raced. The doctor was a gentle man with a calm and welcoming look. I explained my symptoms, showed my trembling hands, described my difficulty in performing simple tasks. He listened to me attentively, without interrupting. He asked some questions about my family history, my lifestyle habits, and my medications. Then he conducted a complete neurological examination, testing my reflexes, coordination, muscle strength, and sensitivity. After the examination, the doctor told me he needed to perform some additional tests to confirm his suspicions. He requested a brain MRI and a blood test to rule out other possible causes of my symptoms. I left the office dazed with a mix of hope and fear. Hope that it wasn't anything serious, fear that the diagnosis could be the worst-case scenario. The wait for the results was torturous. With each passing day, the anxiety grew. I couldn't sleep well, lost my appetite, and constantly felt on edge. I searched the internet about the symptoms I had, looking for answers and trying to prepare myself for the worst. But the more I searched, the more confused and scared I became. Finally, the day arrived to get the test results. I went to the doctor's office accompanied by my husband. We were both nervous and apprehensive. The doctor carefully analyzed the tests and then looked at us with a serious expression. "Rachel," he said, "the tests confirm my suspicions. You have Parkinson's." At that moment, the world came crashing down on me. I felt a shock, disbelief, fear of the unknown. Parkinson's? Me? How could this be? This disease was for old people, not for me. My mind was filled with doubts and questions. What would happen to me? What would my life be like from now on? Would I become dependent on others? Would I lose my independence? Would I die young? Tears started rolling down my face. I felt lost, helpless, without ground beneath me. My husband hugged me tightly, trying to comfort me, but nothing seemed to ease my pain. That was the worst day of my life. We left the doctor's office in silence. In the car, I cried uncontrollably. My husband tried to comfort me, but I couldn't hear his words. I was engulfed in a sea of anguish and despair. I arrived home and locked myself in the room. I needed to be alone, process the news, understand what was happening to me. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stayed awake for hours, thinking about my future, my losses, my limitations. I felt anger, revolt, injustice. Why me? Why with me? What had I done to deserve this? The next day, I woke up exhausted and hopeless. But deep down in my heart, a small spark of strength and determination still burned. I knew I couldn't give in to the illness. I needed to fight, seek treatment, find support. I wasn't going to let Parkinson's defeat me. I looked for information about the disease, spoke to other patients, joined support groups. I found out that Parkinson's is a progressive disease, but that there are treatments that can relieve symptoms and improve quality of life. I learned that I wasn't alone, that there were many other people facing the same challenge. The support of my family, friends, and medical team was essential in helping me overcome the initial shock and accept the diagnosis. Little by little, I learned to live with the disease, to adapt my routine, and to cherish every moment of my life. I discovered that, despite Parkinson's, I could still be happy. I could still pursue my dreams. I could still make a difference in the world. And that's what I intend to do. The beginning of the treatment was a whirlwind of information, tests, and medications. I remember the first appointment with the multidisciplinary team, neurologist, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, and speech therapist. Each of them explained to me in detail about the disease and how the treatment could help me control symptoms and improve my quality of life. I left the appointment with a huge list of medications and an intense routine of exercises and therapies. The first days were tough. The medications caused me nausea, dizziness, and drowsiness. It was hard to concentrate at work and perform daily tasks. Physiotherapy was exhausting, but I knew I needed to make an effort to maintain my mobility and prevent muscle stiffness. Occupational therapy helped me adapt my home and work to make my activities easier. Speech therapy taught me exercises to strengthen my voice and improve my diction. Over time, I got used to the medications and learned to deal with the side effects. I found that taking the medications with meals helped reduce the nausea. I started taking short breaks during the day to rest and avoid extreme fatigue. Physiotherapy and occupational therapy became part of my routine, helping me maintain my independence and engage in the activities I enjoyed the most. Unfortunately, it wasn't all smooth sailing. At times, the medications lost their effectiveness, and I had to increase the dose or change the medication. This would cause new side effects and leave me even more debilitated. I had a few hospitalizations due to muscle stiffness crises and involuntary spasms. During one of these hospitalizations, I had to undergo surgery to implant a deep brain stimulator, a device that helps control tremors and other motor symptoms. The surgery was successful, but the recovery was long and painful. I had to stay hospitalized for several days and undergo intensive physiotherapy to regain my muscle strength. During the recovery, I had to use a wheelchair and rely on my husband's help for basic tasks. I felt humiliated and frustrated for not being able to take care of myself. In addition to the medication side effects and surgery complications, I also had to deal with changes in my body. The illness made me slower, weaker, and clumsier. I lost my agility and motor coordination. I struggled to walk, to dress myself, to feed myself. My hands trembled so much that it was hard to hold a cup or write a letter. I also suffered from hair loss, a side effect of one of the medications I was taking. I felt very sad and insecure about my appearance. I started wearing scarves and hats to hide the baldness. I avoided going out, fearing judgment from others. Extreme fatigue was another constant problem. Even after a whole night's sleep, I would wake up feeling exhausted and lacking energy. The fatigue prevented me from working, taking care of the house, and doing activities I enjoyed the most. I felt like a prisoner in my own body. At times, I felt so disheartened and hopeless that I thought about giving up. The pain, the suffering, the limitations, everything seemed unbearable. But then, I would remember the love from my family, the support from my friends, and the dedication of my medical team. I knew I couldn't let them down. I needed to fight, even when everything seemed lost. The love and support from my husband, my children, and my grandson were crucial in helping me overcome the toughest moments. They gave me strength, encouraged me to keep going, and reminded me of how loved I was. My friends would visit me, call me, and invite me to go out. The medical team treated me with care and attention, explaining everything about the illness and helping me find the most suitable treatment. Thanks to the support from my family, friends, and medical team, I managed to keep hope alive and move forward. I learned to appreciate every small progress, to celebrate every achievement, and to accept my limitations. I discovered that life is a precious gift and worth fighting for, even when the illness presents us with challenges. There is a great confusion between terminal illness and palliative care, and I want to clarify this crucial difference. Terminal illness means that the disease has reached an irreversible point and the life expectancy is limited, usually to months. Palliative care, on the other hand, is an approach aimed at improving the quality of life of patients and their families facing problems associated with serious illnesses at any stage of the disease. Often, people think that palliative care is synonymous with giving up, that there is nothing more to be done. This could not be further from the truth. Being in palliative care does not mean that the person is immediately dying. It means that the main focus is on relieving suffering, whether it is physical, emotional, social, or spiritual. The goal is to provide the maximum comfort and dignity possible, allowing the patient to live the best way they can for as long as they can. Palliative care can be offered alongside other treatments aimed at fighting the disease, such as chemotherapy or radiation therapy. They are not exclusive to patients in the terminal stage. Pain relief is a fundamental part of palliative care. Pain can be debilitating and prevent the patient from enjoying life. Healthcare professionals specializing in palliative care use various techniques and medications to control pain, allowing the patient to feel more comfortable and at ease. But palliative care goes far beyond pain relief. It also includes mental health care, emotional and spiritual support, and social assistance. Mental health is as important as physical health. Serious illness can cause anxiety, depression, fear, and other emotional issues. Mental health professionals working in palliative care provide individual and group therapy, helping the patient cope with their feelings and find strength to face the situation. Emotional and spiritual support is also crucial. Often, the patient needs to talk about their fears, hopes, and beliefs. Healthcare professionals and volunteers working in palliative care provide a safe and welcoming space for the patient to express their feelings and find comfort. Social assistance is also an important part of palliative care. Social workers help the patient and their family deal with practical issues such as financial aid, health insurance, future planning, and childcare. The goal is to alleviate stress and worry, allowing the patient to focus on their health and quality of life. In my journey with Parkinson's, palliative care has been essential in helping me cope with the symptoms and stress of the disease. In addition to medications and conventional therapies, I have also tried some alternative therapies such as meditation, yoga, and acupuncture. Meditation helps calm my mind and reduce anxiety. Yoga helps me stretch my muscles, improve my posture, and relieve pain. Acupuncture helps balance the energy in my body and reduce tremors. These alternative therapies do not cure Parkinson's, but they help me to control the symptoms and improve my quality of life. They provide me with a sense of well-being and help me deal with the stress of the disease. I believe it is important to try different therapeutic approaches and find those that work best for you. The important thing is not to give up on seeking relief and comfort. Remember, palliative care is not the end of the line. It is an approach aimed at improving quality of life, relieving pain, taking care of mental health, and providing comfort. If you or someone you know is facing a serious illness, talk to your doctor about palliative care. It can make all the difference. After a period of relative stability, like a calm before a storm, the disease decided to show its cruelest face, the relapse. The word echoed in my mind like thunder, shattering the thin hope I had cultivated. It was as if all my efforts, therapies, medications, and daily struggles had been in vain. A sense of defeat took hold of me, as if I were back to square one, facing the same steep mountain I had already climbed. The frustration was overwhelming. I felt like I was playing a rigged game where the rules changed every moment and the chances of winning were minimal. That feeling of been there, done that, mixed with the dread of having to relive the whole process, the pains, the limitations, the dependence. It was as if time had reversed, throwing me back to the starting point, but with the baggage of all the negative experiences. And as if that weren't enough, new symptoms emerged, more aggressive and relentless. Pains that were once bearable now became piercing, preventing me from sleeping and carrying out simple activities. The fatigue, which was already my constant companion, intensified, leaving me bedridden for long periods. The tremors, which were once controlled by medications, returned with full force, making me feel embarrassed and insecure in public. Facing this new scenario, I had to undergo a battery of tests, MRIs, CT scans, scintigraphies. It was as if they were scouring every inch of my body in search of traces of the disease. The wait for the results was agonizing. Every minute felt like an eternity. And when the diagnosis finally arrived, the news was devastating. Metastasis. The words sounded like a sentence. The disease had spread, invading other organs, further compromising my health. The fear of death, which had previously loomed on the horizon, now became imminent, palpable. The fragility of life revealed itself in all its cruelty. The certainty that time was limited haunted me at every moment. It took time to digest the news, to accept the new reality. At first, I felt revolted, unjustly treated. I questioned the meaning of life, the reason for suffering. I felt like a dry leaf, adrift, aimless, hopeless. But slowly, I realized that I could not let myself be defeated by the pain. I needed to find the strength to move forward, to live each moment intensely, no matter how difficult it was. Psychological support has been essential in this journey. Therapy helps me deal with my fears, my anxieties, and my frustrations. Through conversation, reflection, and self-awareness, I have learned to accept my condition and focus on what truly matters, the present. Spirituality has also given me a lot of strength. Faith helps me find meaning in suffering, believe in a higher purpose, and have hope for a better future. Prayer, meditation, and connection with nature bring me inner peace and help me cope with the fear of death. Today, I live one day at a time, seeking to make the most of each moment. I value the small pleasures, the moments of joy, the company of the people I love. I've learned to say no to what harms me and to prioritize what makes me feel good. I dedicate myself to activities that bring me pleasure, such as reading, writing, listening to music, and being with my family. The fear of death still exists, of course, but I don't let it paralyze me. I know that one day I will have to leave, but I want to depart in peace, knowing that I lived intensely and did my best. I want to leave a legacy of love, hope, and resilience. I want to inspire others to face their challenges with courage, faith, and determination. Life is a precious gift, and we should make the most of it, even in the face of difficulties. Parkinson's has taught me to value each moment, to love unconditionally, and to live intensely. I thank God for each day, for each smile, for each hug, and I move forward with faith, hope, and the certainty that life is beautiful, even with all its imperfections. If there's one lesson Parkinson's has taught me, it's the preciousness of the present. Before, I was so focused on the future, planning, worrying about what was to come, that I forgot to savor the now. the disease forced me to slow down, to pay attention to details, to appreciate the small things that used to go unnoticed. It's as if my senses suddenly sharpened, allowing me to see the beauty that has always been around me. Today, I wake up with the joy of a new day, even knowing it may bring challenges. I watch the sunrise, feeling the revitalizing energy of nature. I savor every sip of my breakfast coffee, enjoying the aroma and flavor. I listen to the birds singing, which transport me to a world of peace and harmony. These are simple moments, but they fill me with happiness. One of my favorite activities is spending time with my grandson. He is the light of my life, my source of joy. I love playing with him, telling stories, reading books, and singing lullabies. His tight hugs and sweet kisses are the best remedy for any pain. Seeing the world through his pure and innocent eyes renews my energies and makes me believe in a better future. Cooking is also an activity that brings me a lot of satisfaction. Before, I did everything automatically without paying much attention. Today, I dedicate more time and care to meal preparation. I choose the ingredients with care, follow the recipes attentively, and season everything with love. The aroma of the food spreading through the house brings back memories of my childhood and connects me to my roots. And when the family gathers around the table to share the meal, I feel immense joy. Another thing I have learned to value is silence. Before, I was terrified of silence. I felt uncomfortable, anxious. Today, silence has become my refuge, my moment of peace. I love sitting in my garden, closing my eyes, and simply listening to the sound of the wind in the trees. Silence helps me calm my mind, relax my body, and connect with my essence. Illness has also taught me to value relationships. Before, I dedicated so much to work that I ended up neglecting my friends and family. Today, I prioritize the time I spend with the people I love. I have lunch with my children, go out to dinner with my husband, visit my friends, call my relatives. The closeness with the people who love me gives me strength and helps me face life's challenges. I have learned to express my feelings, to say what I think and how I feel without fear of judgment. Before, I had difficulty showing my emotions. I repressed them, kept everything to myself. Today, I am more open, more transparent, more authentic. I talk about my joys, my sorrows, my fears, and my hopes. Honesty and sincerity in my relationships have brought me more peace and more happiness. And, above all, I have learned to be grateful for life. I am thankful for each day, for each smile, for each hug, for each small achievement. I am grateful for my family, for my friends, for my health, even with limitations, for my home, for my work, for nature, for the beauty of the world. Gratitude helps me maintain optimism and believe in a better future. Illness has taught me to prioritize what really matters and to set aside unnecessary worries. I used to worry about trivial things, about appearances, about status, about what others thought of me. Today, I worry about what really matters: my health, my family, my friends, my happiness. I have learned to live in the present, to enjoy each moment, and to be grateful for all that I have. And this is the greatest lesson Parkinson's has taught me. Life and death, for me, have ceased to be distant opposites and have become two sides of the same coin, an inevitable cycle. Before the illness, death was something abstract, a future event I preferred not to think about. Today, It presents itself as a real possibility, a shadow that accompanies me, but does not stop me from living. I have learned to face it more naturally, without fear, but with respect and acceptance. Life, in turn, has gained a new meaning. I stopped living on autopilot and started to value every moment, every experience, every encounter. I realized that happiness is not in material achievements or social recognition, but in simple moments, in true relationships, in connection with nature, and in the pursuit of a greater purpose. Illness has taught me to be grateful for what I have instead of lamenting what I have lost. The experience of Parkinson's has transformed me in ways I never imagined. Physical frailty has made me stronger internally. Pain has made me more compassionate towards the suffering of others. Uncertainty has taught me to live one day at a time without worrying excessively about the future. Dependence has made me more humble and grateful for the help I receive. Illness stripped me of masks and allowed me to be more authentic, truer to myself and to others. I let go of the need to please, to be perfect, to have control over everything. I learned to accept myself with my limitations, to love myself with my imperfections, and to forgive myself for my mistakes. Authenticity set me free and brought me more inner peace. The legacy I want to leave behind is that of a woman who fought with courage, faith, and determination against a cruel disease, never losing hope and good humor. I want to be remembered as someone who loved unconditionally, who devoted herself to family, who helped others, and who lived each moment intensely. I want to inspire others to take care of their health, value life, and pursue their dreams, even in the face of challenges. It is crucial for people to learn to listen to their own bodies, to pay attention to warning signs, and to seek medical help as soon as possible. Early diagnosis can make all the difference in the treatment of various illnesses, including Parkinson's. Moreover, it is important to adopt healthy habits, such as regularly engaging in physical activities, eating a balanced diet, getting enough sleep, and avoiding stress. Prevention is always the best medicine. For those facing similar challenges, I want to leave a message of hope and encouragement. Don't give up. I know it's hard. I know it hurts. I know sometimes it seems impossible to keep going. But believe me, you are stronger than you think. Seek support from family, friends, support groups, and healthcare professionals. Don't isolate yourselves. Share your experiences, learn from others, and don't be afraid to ask for help. Remember that you are not alone. There are many people who care about you and who want to see you happy. Focus on what you can do rather than lamenting what you can't. Value the small progress, celebrate each achievement, and don't compare yourselves to others. Life is a journey, not a competition. Keep the faith, hope, and good humor. Believe in a better future. Visualize the cure or control of the disease, and never lose the joy of living. A smile is a powerful medicine, capable of easing pain, strengthening the spirit, and lighting the way. Open your heart to love, beauty, and kindness. Life is a precious gift, and we must make the most of it, even in the face of difficulties. And remember, you are capable of overcoming any obstacle. Believe in yourselves. The experience of Parkinson's has taught me, above all, to listen to my body. It speaks, it warns, it pleads for attention. Ignoring these signals can have serious consequences, such as delaying a diagnosis and complicating treatment. Do not overlook the minor pains, the slight tremors, the excessive fatigue. Seek a doctor, get tests done, ask questions. Prevention is the best path to a long and healthy life. And if the diagnosis comes, do not despair. Early diagnosis can make all the difference in disease control and maintaining your quality of life. If I could give advice based on my personal experience, it would be, do not give in to fear and hopelessness. The disease can be scary, but it does not define who you are. You are much stronger than you think. Face the challenge with courage, faith, and hope. Seek support from family, friends, support groups. Believe in yourself and your ability to overcome obstacles. Do not isolate yourself. Share your experiences, learn from others, and do not be afraid to ask for help. Remember that you are not alone on this journey. There are thousands of people around the world facing similar challenges. Connect with them, exchange experiences, offer and receive support. Together, we can build a strong and supportive community capable of overcoming any barrier. And above all, love yourself. Accept yourself with your limitations and value your qualities. You are a unique and special person with much to offer to the world. My heart fills with love and gratitude when I look back and see all that I have achieved despite the disease. I am grateful for my family who loves and supports me unconditionally. I am grateful for my friends who give me strength and make me smile. I am grateful for healthcare professionals who care for me with affection and dedication. And I am grateful for life, which teaches me a new lesson every day. I believe in the power of life, in the human ability to overcome, and in the importance of valuing each moment. Live intensely, love deeply, and be grateful for all that you have. Life is a precious gift. Make the most of it.